So I've been reading this book, Return to the Brain of Eden, Restoring Consciousness Between Neurochemistry, Restoring the Connection Between Neurochemistry and Consciousness by Tony Wright and Graham Gynn. It's such a fascinating book explaining how we as humans evolved as forest dwellers millions of years ago, with primates alongside with primates, and something went wrong and we ate tropical fruits. 95 to 99% to 100% of our diet was tropical fruits, with the occasional addition of digestible green leaves and the occasional nut, and sometimes accidentally we'd eat some insects. So that is regarded as the frugivorous diet, not necessarily fruitarian, but frugivorous. And humans by nature are frugivore, and our entire anatomy, biology, everything, just the science is all there, it points to fruit, the research is all there, you just have to do it yourself. But there's a fascinating thing in this book, and it explains how where we lost our way and when our brains became almost deformed and desynced, and why today there's so much testosterone, so much steroids, we age prematurely, and our brains function with the left brain dominance and not a harmonious brain with a harmonious system. And our pineal gland is shut off from our higher functions because the biochemistry and the biomechanical structure of chemicals in fruit give us those chemicals that actually suppress steroids and testosterone and allow us to function at a higher intelligence, allow us to nourish the pineal gland, the master gland, and melatonin, and all these like feel good, higher consciousness sort of chemicals in our brain. And around 200,000 years ago, when we stopped eating, when we were forced out of the forest because some, who knows, cataclysmic event happened, we were forced to adapt to other foods. And I think we started to learn to consume meat and tubers and like vegetables and stuff that we found on the ground, which weren't originally designed for us, but we adapted. And this is where it caused our, Tony Wright calls it a mild retardation, because this is where it caused our, disharmony or distortion, and why our brains started to shrink 200,000 years ago, because our brains were actually expanding millions of years ago, and they were functioning in a much more harmonious way. And so what meat and animal products did, they changed the entire biochemistry. So it forced us to, it's full of steroids and testosterone, so we became bigger and stronger and more fear-based, and our intelligence went down, our longevity went down, and the fruit actually keeps our brain in a juvenile state where we're like children. It's like when we take psilocybin mushrooms or any psychedelic, our brain is open like a child, so we can learn very quickly and we can stay in those states and act childlike. And if you notice, a lot of people who eat a lot of fruit, a lot of fruitarians out there are very childlike, and even in their like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s are still like behaving like children, and they look very young, very healthy and vibrant and playful. And because that's what fruit does, because it keeps us in that state. And the wrong diet and the wrong foods age us prematurely and actually caused all this disorder that we experience today and malfunction. And a lot of people don't like to, can't digest this because they're so attached to their addictions. And sure, yeah, I understand, like meat causes the parasites within you that crave the meat. It's simple. But if you have to cook something to digest it, or ferment something to digest it, or flavor it, or salt it, or any of this stuff, just shows it's not the natural food. Where like a piece of fruit, you don't have to do anything to it, and you love it, you know. But anyways, I've created enough videos on proving that and explaining that, but this is more for where we lost our way, and I guess entering the dark age because we were forced to live in other environments and consume the wrong foods. And yeah, this book is so fascinating, and it also explains how back then, because we only ate mostly fruit, wild tropical fruit, which was quite far more nourishing than modern fruit is, but if you can find some, actually nourishes the pineal, nourishes the master gland. It harmonizes the brain and body, and we access the greater intelligence that we are, and we don't need, when that's working again, we feel high naturally, we feel alive naturally, we feel harmonious naturally. We don't need, it heals trauma, it heals everything, because it's the natural food for our species. It's a species specific diet, and we don't need no more medicines or psychedelics or hard, challenging, all these things that we do in the sort of conscious and spiritual communities to get back to that natural state, because it automatically reorganizes everything. And I've experienced this myself in my own experience. Like, I've been on like 90 to 95% fruit in the last 2 years, and so much has come back to me. Everything turns on again, because you become alive again, you become human again, because you're consuming what is humanly yours, what is but yeah, it's a fascinating book. Anyone who's interested in this kind of stuff should read it. And I'll give you a little kind of on the back, if you want to pause the video and give it a read. But yeah, this is not the only book. I've read many books, but this is one of the, this guy's 20 years of research into this stuff, and it's a lot of information. So if you don't like information books, it may not be for you. But yeah, it's just fascinating, and what is even more fascinating is it's so simple. And if we just correct what we eat, we can correct almost everything in our lives, because we're getting the correct biochemical fuel, and then our biochemistry works perfectly again. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously. There's going to be a lot of detoxing and a lot of processing shit that you ate for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years that needs to come out of your body. So you need to incorporate it with detoxification protocols and fasting. And I just came out of a 4-day dry fast in the bush, and all I could think about was fruit. I didn't have no connection to any other food. Like, I was at the petrol station, and I saw this junk, which I didn't consider food, or processed junk. And then the bananas were like glowing. They were just these, mainstream bananas. I probably won't eat them anyway. I eat organic, fresh, wild ladyfingers, something original. But they were glowing, and all I can think about was fruit. And there's so many things that just point to fruit, and I find a lot of humans seem to deny their human nature because it's so brainwashed and programmed backwards. And I find this is the missing link, and where our deepest traumas and wounds sit. And yeah, it's one of the biggest transitions that people can take, that can replace 80% of our efforts and works to come back to a balanced and healed state within ourselves. So yeah, thought I'd make that video. I love you all, and yeah, should check out this book. And yeah, I will read it again. I'm only halfway, and then I'll add to my notes, and I'm gonna make a post in the future once I've really sunk it all in. Excuse me, because this stuff is very important. Very important. Thank you.